Hello, I'd like to open up a challenge for atheists. There are several videos on YouTube where self-proclaimed atheists have made debates, and discussions that challenge the question, like, is there a God or there is no God? People who believe in a God are stupid, they waste their time, it's unnecessary, things like that. Well, this is my challenge for you, for all of you, and I challenge every one of you to come and debate with me, because I'll use an illustration. The fish and the ice cube. Okay, the fish and the ice cube. What is that? I've never heard of that, right? Well, fish and the ice cube is relevant to the Big Bang Theory, right? The Big Bang Theory says there was a big ball of matter and a big ball of antimatter, and there was a collision, and the ball of matter won, and we are the residue. Everything we see, everything that is in this universe we know of, is just residue of that explosion, okay? But what that does not explain, because science explains a lot, scientific theory, scientists all explain how things are believed to work and operate and function, but it can't explain the origin of it. Like, for example, the wind. We know the wind blows, but nobody can control the wind. Nobody knows where the wind comes from. It's not from the earth rotating or nothing like that. No one knows where the wind comes from. Same thing with electricity. The electron. We know that there's the electron along with the atom, the proton, and all the other molecules, but nobody knows the source of electricity. What makes it move? What makes cells move? Nobody can explain that. Not even a theory can explain that. All the theories talk about is the fact that they move. Duh, that's a no-brainer. We can see that. Duh, that's evident. You didn't have to do research to figure out it moved. So the fish and the ice cube. Well, let's see. There's a fish. You can take a fish who lives in a pond or a lake. Okay, let's just say a lake. And the fish in that community in that lake have lived in that lake. Let's say that lake has been around for 200 years, okay? So all the fish that had ever lived in that lake, they lived there and they died, and and they passed on their stories of life and everything in general, like we do as people, okay? Well, let's say there's this one particular fish who is interested in all the wisdom and knowledge that there is to know about the world. Well, the only world that fish is knowledgeable of is inside the water, is inside the lake. And we can say that fish believes that that's the only place there is. The fish also believes that without the water, it would die, okay? And the fish also recognizes and realizes the sources of replenishing the water, like rain. So, but let's say the fish believe that, from the dawn of creation, where did the water originally come from? There's a hole in the ground, and there's a big ice cube, and over the years, the ice cube melted on that very spot and filled up the hole and created life, okay? Well, where did the ice cube come from? Nobody can explain where the ice cube came from, right? Same thing with the Big Bang Theory. Nobody can explain where the Big Bang came from or any of that. But then when you get down to the details of how the fish functions, how the fish has a small, tiny brain, but it's very intelligent. If fishing was a no-brainer, then it wouldn't be called fishing. It would simply be called catching fish. A fish can see a worm dangling on a hook, and they know that's not natural. So of course, they're not going to just bite that, with not knowing that something's up with it. So, and the same thing applies with nature in general, with animals. Animals live on instinct, but yet they don't need anybody to teach them how to do what they do, how to eat, what to eat, things like that. They just know, right? And you wonder, how do they know that? Because God created every creature there is here with a purpose. We all serve a purpose. Earthworms, worms in the ground serve a purpose. They eat and recycle soil so they can make it richer. And that helps plants to grow. And the plants growing helps vegetation, which helps animals and people, right? Because it gives us food. And, it helps to germinate. It helps with the germination process. It helps with, with the grass growing, leaves growing on plants, which, then there's the sun. And then the sun causes photosynthesis, which helps the plants develop and grow. You see, everything in this world serves a purpose. Big Bang Theory says that everything's left to chance. Says that everything just happens spontaneously. Well, if everything happened spontaneously and had no rules or regulations governing them, then this world would be chaos. The gravity wouldn't be a stable thing. The planets would move around and just float around instead of staying in a particular place, held by an unseen force, governed by certain rules, you see? So everything, even the stars in the sky, are there for a reason, and they're put there for a reason. And God is the one who creates and He governs everything. He sets the rules, and that's the way everything is. And for an atheist, for someone who just chooses not to believe in anything because he's ignorant, because he doesn't choose to have an open mind, instead he lives in a box with a closed mind, and he just picks and chooses what he thinks is right, and then he's all hard on everyone else who doesn't agree with him. I think that's pretty dumb. That's the person that chooses to be ignorant and not to be open to everything else, because I'm a former Satanist. I used to be a Satanist when I was younger, and I had an supernatural experience, where I had a encounter with Jesus Christ. But that's my story. But stories like that, an atheist would question, well, that guy must have been on drugs, or just something dumb. But I never ever see an atheist challenging a Satanist. I never see an atheist challenging a witch, a Wiccan, or anybody like that who dabbles in the dark spiritual matters, you see? Because they're scared of that. So, whatever. I'm not scared of what I don't understand or what I don't know. So, like I said, if there's an atheist out there who sees this video and has an intelligent argument, I'm welcome to hear it. Alright, y'all have a good day.